Shannon, when you get into games that are like Saturday's was, how hard is it to just balance playing time for the guys that you want to get in with? Obviously, you want to get a good result. For example, with Cam, how difficult is it for you guys to manage that on the fly during a game?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough in a way, but I just listen to Coach Cristobal. Like when he tells me to put the backups in, I put the backups in. So after drives, he said, you want one more, and I was like, yeah, I think one more is good. And at that point in the game, it was like third quarter, so he just told me that after this drive, no matter what happens, just put the backups in. So yeah, for me, it's easy. That would be a question for him. I just listen to him.
Speaking of that last drive, you see Cam go airborne for the goal line. What's going through your mind when you see that?
I mean, nothing really. I mean, I hold on to the ball. I mean, it was that was fourth down. Was that fourth down or third down? Third down. And so really just more so hold on to the ball. I mean, I don't worry about him as far as like, I mean, you know, he gets hit. He's a football player. He's got pads on, so he's trying to make a play. I think the ball could have went to a couple other places right there if we do our job right, but he did what he had to do because nobody was open. So I like that about him. He understands that, it's a simple concept, but third down's the last down. So you got to go get it if you don't have it, right?
And then after, obviously you worked with him all throughout, spring and fall, but now you've had a chance to work with him in 2 games. Is there anything about him that's kind of like surprised you that he didn't join practice?
No, I mean, he's very calm. That's one thing I do appreciate. I mean, me and him have similar demeanors on game day. It's whether the drive was really good or something happened that's bad, you go and you look at what happened and you move forward. And I like the fact that he has extreme short-term memory. Things don't bother him. He sees the field in a really good way. Typically, the information he has when he comes over to the sidelines of why he did something is fairly accurate. We do have iPads now on the sideline, so we can actually watch it and see, okay, well, you're right, so-and-so was here, or so-and-so needs to do this. Maybe it was a busted route or whatever. So it's more communication on what we have to get better. But, it is a very, he has a very calm demeanor. He plays football with a very low pulse, which is what you should do.
There's a lot of focus on the passing game just with what Ward's been doing, but how are your thoughts on the run game through the first 2 games, and then specifically how you've been distributing things between Martinez and Fletcher?
Yeah, I mean, Matt does a good job of controlling those guys' reps, and we're going to stay balanced. I mean, that's who we are. We can run the football and we can push people around, so we're going to ultimately mix in that with attacking in the air, right? So to me, the beauty of who we are is we're balanced. We can beat you either way. So we gotta maintain that course, and that's my job to keep it mixed up and to keep people off balance. But we do have a handful of backs that we feel comfortable being in there, really any of them, and so it's a talented room, and so he does a good job of rotating those guys, and those guys do a good job of cheering for each other, which I think is vitally important when you're in a crowded room.
Talked about after the game, you guys haven't really gotten to the bag of the playbook. Just what are your thoughts on that and just the basics of working? How important is that for you guys?
It is. I mean, as the season goes, I mean, the creativity week to week will obviously be more and more. I mean, we've been pretty base so far. Even in the first game, there was a couple things with movements and stuff that we did, but as time goes on, then and people obviously get more comfortable because people have more reps. But creativity. I mean, you gotta do what you do in a sense, and but you gotta try to hide it. Does that make sense? And so you just gotta try to figure out wrinkles to it and just ways to move to it and shift to it and do enough things out of those sets where you're not giving off anything to the defense is really the key.
Incorporated more no huddle or tempo this year. Is that
Yeah.
fair to say? And how do you feel like that's gone?
It's good. I mean, he's comfortable with no huddling. There was a lot of, I say a lot. There was a handful of plays that were just check with me plays in the game, and so I feel comfortable just basically lining up and giving him a set and letting him see the defense at times. Our communication cuts off at 15. So if I freeze or something that takes a little bit of time, then he'll, I'll just, when I freeze, he'll just check the play. And so, which happened a few times Saturday, and the touchdown to Restrepo was, he saw that they were playing a form of cover 2. And so he checked a down the middle throw, which ended up working out. So I can't take credit for that one.
Markel Bell starting at left tackle. Your thoughts on how he did filling for Jalen?
I thought as the game went on, I thought he played better and better. He made a couple mistakes early, which was obviously, you can understand that. But as the game went on, he's been super solid in camp. The dude is really talented. And as the game went on, you saw that. His comfort level set in.
How about Isaiah Horton and his growth? Seems like, you bring a guy into his room and he's embraced that competition and continues to get better.
And that room's no different than what he was asking about the running back room. Look, if you look at the one thing I care about, a lot of things I care about, but distribution of the ball is important to me, right? I like when a lot of guys touch the ball. It doesn't always happen, but right now we have a lot of skilled guys. We have a lot of tight ends that are touching the ball, which I know I get asked about plenty, but they're touching the ball, so everybody relax. But a lot of people are touching the ball, and those guys are really good playmakers, right? And there's a reason why the ball finds them is because they're open, right? And so I like distribution the way it is, right? And so I don't know if one guy will catch 100 balls this year. I would rather have 6 guys catch 50, to be personally honest with you. But one guy might, I don't know. But, like I was saying with the running back room, the receiver room is talented. The ball is getting spread out. The sun isn't going to shine on you every week, So when you get opportunities, make plays, because we're going to roll other guys in there, and the ball is going to get distributed probably a little bit different than it did last year. And so people have to be comfortable with that. And people have to find ways also to affect the game without the ball. That's very important when you play a skill position. It's finding a way to affect the game without the ball in your hand. Because if you play, let's say you play 60 snaps in a game, which is, about right, 50 or 60 snaps. If you catch 7 balls, that's a pretty good game. If you catch 6 balls, it's a pretty good game, right? So just do the math. I'm not great at math, but I can subtract 60 from 7, right? And that's 43, right? Am I right by that? 53? Yeah, something like that. But just you're playing a lot more snaps without the ball in your hand. This Common Core math that my daughters are doing at home has me all screwed up. Like, you gotta write everything out, and you gotta show everything. I can't do that, And so I help them with their math homework, and it's like, hell, I don't know the answer half the time because of the way they have to do it. So.
On the perimeter has gone from your receivers, because it's obviously big in the quick game and all that.
I didn't think it was great Saturday, to be honest with you. I thought there were some things we could have did better Saturday. I thought it was really good game 1. I thought throughout camp, I thought our blocking has improved a lot since the time I've been here. I do think Saturday we could have done a little bit better job in a couple different situations, and that probably has a little bit to do with, for a quarter and a half, we played a lot of young guys. So my mind might be skewed a little bit because those guys are going to have some hurdles to overcome, just like the older guys did at some point in their career. And so if you separated everything, I would probably feel different about it. But as a whole, if you're asking me that, there were some times we could have blocked better on the perimeter.
Joe Lyle was pretty happy getting the score on his 19th birthday. How did the team in that running room celebrate that?
You'd have to ask them. I don't know. But I know I'm happy to have him here, and I expect a lot more touchdowns from him. He's a very talented kid, great kid to be around too. But I'm sure that they celebrated in whatever way they celebrate, But everybody was happy for him, I can tell you that.
And, first extended look at Reese in a game.
Yeah.
Chance to throw the ball a little bit. Just what do you think of how he did in the game?
I thought he did good. That was his first snaps here. And at the end of the game like that, obviously you're calling the game a little bit different. You're not sitting there throwing it every time, although they did, which was kind of shocking to me at times. But with the way that the game was called with him, I thought he did well. You can tell he's very athletic. he gets out in the open and he can really run. And so he can throw it too. It's just that we didn't do that a lot. I mean, they had one, I think the ball slipped out of his hand one time, and then I can't remember the other ones. I think one of them got covered with, we was throwing the Lofton on the corner route, but we didn't display a lot of that at the end, but I thought he managed the calls in the game well.
Pretty evident that Emory's there's an effort to give him a red shirt this year.
Yeah.
What's the challenge with that from a player perspective, with trying to continue to stay engaged, but take that red shirt?
It's tough. I mean, look, I went through it as a player, and I've done it multiple times as a coach, and so I just think that having those discussions early help, because if you can eliminate some landmines along the way with things, especially when it's going to be a challenging year for a kid, but if you can give them some, hey, this is what it's going to be like, so that way at least they have some understanding in the lay of the land. And so we had a lot of conversations early in camp and really throughout the off season about, what the plan was going to be for him. So he knows exactly what the plan is, and I talked to him at the end of every week. He knew, like in that game, I wasn't going to play him any. And so, he was fully aware of, I'm completely transparent with all of them about what their role is and what they're going to be doing that game. And so there's going to be games where we activate him. Obviously we have 4, right? And so, but that will be communicated to me from Coach Cristobal and then down the chain of command. But, Emory's handling it great. Like, his attitude's great. He does a great job at practice. He's had a great camp. And, I know that older kids are better players. And so, it wouldn't be very smart for me to waste a year on a kid with his talent level for no apparent reason, right?
I asked Mario the same question, but you'll see what happens around college football. It's a pretty crazy week on Saturday. NIU beats Notre Dame. Do games like that, just kind of upsets, help you guys reiterate to the players like that there are no, like Mario said, there are no easy teams, there are no bad teams. That if you're not sharp on your game, you can get beat.
Yeah, I do think it's a good reminder. It doesn't look, you don't have to look far for those reminders, to be honest with you. You look across the nation, and heck, when we got done with our game, LSU and Nichols was a 3-point game in the third quarter, right? And so Cal beat Auburn at Auburn, right? And, some of those teams were 35 to 38-point favorites, and they're in a dogfight. And so I just think that the margin of error in college football today is razor thin. And if you don't come with your A game and you don't prepare the right way from Monday through Friday, then you could get knocked off fairly easily. And especially when people have a bullseye on you, and you're going to get their best. And so, I talk to the offense a lot about just playing the game, not the name. It doesn't matter who the opponent is. If you prepare Monday is Monday, Tuesday is Tuesday, and just focus on, hey, these are the plan. This is the plan for this week. These are the plays, and let's get as good as we can get at them and execute them and understand the situations and understand the scheme the defense is going to be in certain situations. All the rest will take care of itself. The issues come when you really, if you look at those games, there's more of a, hey, there's a fine line in games like that. And I watched the Notre Dame game this morning. I got it here and I put the game on and I watched the flow of the game. Ultimately, there's a clear line in the sand of when they lost focus, And so, and when things like that happen, you have to have older leadership. There's got to be something there to pull it back together and refocus, because it's hard to get the train back on the track when it comes off. It just is. Like, we've all been there, and it's nothing that, I'm not talking bad about them or anything. I'm saying, heck, we've all been in that situation. And so it's a good reminder for guys to stay focused in the moment, because ultimately the loss of focus is really the key. And once you lose it and you try to get it back, it's hard. So the key is don't lose it, right?
How do you feel like this team focuses attention to detail in practice compared to other teams you've been around?
We have a lot of older guys, and we have a lot of guys that's played a lot of football. And I do think our focus is different. It seems to be very different. Now, and there's a lot of different things that can affect your play and affect your momentum. Like, for instance, like success and failure can slow you down. Like if success is really easy, then you kind of relax and that slows you down. And if you're not doing good, you press and that slows you down. I think the key is to find a way to stay right in the middle, and just execute with a clear mind and clear conscience. Now, our guys have shown in 2 games the ability to overcome. Like Florida, we threw a pick backed up. Well, not a very good play for us, obviously. It could have been devastating. The defense goes out there and does a great job, but then we take the next drive and we go score. And it's very, everybody was calm. Yeah, hey, it is what it is. Can't do anything about it. We move on and we execute the next drive. And there was times in this game where at the end of the first half, we had 2 drives that sputtered out, right? Didn't look good. Didn't execute good. We had people that were doing things that they shouldn't have been doing out there. Well, at halftime, we got together, and Cam and other older guys, and we went out there in the second half, and we put it out of reach. So, I mean, they've shown in 2 games where whenever things start, because ultimately in games there's going to be times where you're going to hit a lull or something's going to happen. No game goes perfect. And so staying calm and staying together is key. And our guys seem to do that. And we just got to keep doing it.
Seems like there was an effort to get Chris Johnson involved in the last game. How do you feel like it went?
I thought it went well. I mean, I want to get him more and more involved. That room's very talented. And so the challenge at times is to keep people engaged. And really, he's a talented kid that can do a lot of things. I mean, he's not just a guy that I put in there to do things with. I mean, he can run every run game scheme, protection. He's grown as a running back since I've been here, leaps and bounds. And he's done a tremendous job. And I'm trying to reward him with like some things because he deserves it, right? And he's a really good player, and he has the ability to be dynamic with the ball in his hand. And so ultimately that room is just very talented, and he knows that, and we've communicated with him. And so we're going to keep finding ways to get good players involved, but without disrupting what we're doing. And if that's the easiest way to put it.
Awesome, Coach. Thank you.
Appreciate it.